What's up, Richmond Rillaboom fans? We are coming to you with a very special episode of the Richmond Rillaboom channel. Today, this is not a RGBL video. This is a special guest appearance from my boy Kyle, aka SeniaKC. This is the mastermind who I know I've shouted out at least a couple times, and I was just saying that I'm not shouting you out an appropriate amount because Kyle here is my guy that helps me out with mock battles every single week. This guy is a great coach and just a great human being overall, and we're out here winning together. Okay, so we're doing a special feature because Kyle just won a championship. What was it? Was that last night?
Yes, it was Sunday night, like at 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah, which I guess I don't know if that's technically Saturday night or Sunday morning, whatever you want to call it. This man just won a championship. Not only did he win a championship, he went undefeated throughout the entire season with this baller ass team, and this dude has continually just gotten better and better as a coach. And we're out here kicking ass and taking names. Kyle, please tell me about this. Well, first off, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Say hello
All
to the
right.
peoples.
Well, hello. I am Kyle or KC or SeniaKC. Just don't call me late to lunch.
Yo, where does the name Senya come from? What does that mean?
All right. Well, so have you are have you ever played games on Steam before?
Not really.
There was a game on Steam. It's a JRPG called Eternal Senya, and it's basically just a cute little JRPG with a female protagonist in it, and I kind of took it because I was enamored with that game back when I was a high school
Okay.
student. I used to, and that's why my first tag, which you probably remember me by, was Hero Hydrangea.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
She was the princess of Hydrangea.
Right on. So shout outs to Eternal Senya, and I'm gonna have to check out that game. And
It's free on Steam.
right on. Okay, cool. I'm a big fan of JRPGs. If anybody watching this video recognizes the music in the background, that's Octopath Traveler soundtrack. Great game, great JRPG. Just beat Octopath Traveler 2 recently, and really enjoyed it. For anybody who's a fan of JRPGs and especially like retro feel JRPGs, highly recommend. So okay, Kyle, take me through your roster top to bottom. Just rattle them off for me and tell me about like how was this team, like going 13-0 in a season is crazy, going undefeated.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
why you loved
Especially in a
this
game
team.
like Pokemon, where things are so luck based too, where you can outright lose games because you get unlucky.
Yeah, dude, happens all the time. So the Hex gods were in your favor, and no surprise because I'm looking at a Manaphy on your squad, so of course the Hex gods were in your favor. But yeah, take us through the team here.
All right. Well, so funny story. My first pick, because I was the first pick of the draft, I got Ursaluna Blood Moon, but Sam wanted Ursaluna Blood Moon, so I told him, "Hey, get me Manaphy, and I'll give you Ursaluna Blood Moon," and that's what happened.
Okay, plot twist.
So I got myself this amazing water type.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Anybody watching my RGBL series knows that I'm a big fan of your boy Manaphy. Now, your Manaphy is Hero Penny. My followers are more familiar with the DJ Manny Fresh. They're different Pokemon. Hero Penny and DJ Manny Fresh are different Pokemon, but we love Manaphy's.
Yep, the names are after a video game called Dokapon Kingdom,
Uh-huh.
another JRPG like esque Mario Party game. Super fun, love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so nicknames are very important, and if you want to
Oh,
go
100%.
undefeated, you got to have good nicknames, okay, guys? I talked about this in my team analysis. You got to nickname your Pokemon if you want them to be well trained. If you want them to not miss these 90% accuracy moves 100% of
I
the
mean, look
time.
at my opponent in finals. He didn't have nicknamed Mons, obviously.
That's why the dude lost. He lost already.
Exactly. The power of nicknames, it's just way too strong.
It's
You're putting yourself in a handicap if you don't nickname your Mons.
yeah, these are pro tips we're giving them people right now, okay? Okay, so tell me take us through the roster top to bottom. Just rattle them off for me real quick.
All right. Well, obviously, the first pick was Manaphy. Afterwards was Jirachi. Very versatile, good steel type and
Uh-huh.
psychic type. Can do a lot of things. People probably know the infamous Thunderwave Iron headset, but
Oh god.
trust me, it does way more than that.
It does. It does.
All right. Third pick was Ursaluna, which amazing ground type breaker. Like both Manaphy and Jirachi are they're more of a versatile pick. They aren't going to be your breaker and
Mm-hmm.
all, especially with base 100 stats. That's where Ursaluna comes in because that thing has a monstrous 140 base attack plus guts facades, tears through teams.
Yeah, dude, that thing is and I can attest to doing some mocks for you at the end there and sitting there
Mm-hmm.
trying to like team build against Ursaluna and being like, there's nothing that switches into this.
Throw your hands up and just say, "Well, hope I don't lose to this."
Yeah. And I love the combo of like already the synergy there of like both both Manaphy and Jirachi getting U-turn and being able to like help that Ursaluna get in for free, and especially that Jirachi gets Trick Room. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's all kinds of nasty possibilities there. All right, let's keep going.
Yep. All right. Well, the fourth pick was probably the late game cleaner, Cinderace.
Uh
And funny note is that it actually went undefeated in this as well. It went 11-0.
wow.
Yep. And obviously, it's it can break. And this is like Barrow Ace, by the way. So it can break. It can basically have stab anything that it can legally learn. It can court change hazards away, which kind of deters people from ever using hazards against you.
Yeah.
It can Super Fang. It can Willow. It can do it all. But it's generally a really good late game cleaner when everything is weakened. Granted, it doesn't miss a Pyro Ball.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But Hero Guts, he was well trained, so he don't miss
Mm-hmm.
those power balls.
Forged by fire,
And court
landing all the Pyro Balls.
and court change is such a cool move too. I've actually never used Cinderace, but it's on my list for sure.
Recommend. Amazing Pokemon. Love it. Like, I think I had it with my FPL team too, so I was running two teams with Cinderace at the same exact time.
Uh huh. That's always
All
nice
right.
when you have like two leagues and you're just getting really familiar with certain Pokemon and you just start beasting with them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Cinderace was definitely one of those. After that, we had Toxtricity, which was a Pokemon I was willing to take a gamble on because
Mm-hmm.
it had two really important types for me. Poison, to absorb T-Spikes. You can also set up T-Spikes. And also Electric, because Electric is a busted type if your opponent does not have a good ground type.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
good old Toxtricity over here also has a funny move called Boom Burst with its ability, which boosts sound-based moves. So normal and electric moves, not much. Not much can block both of those combined.
Very, very true. And especially if you slap a choice specs on that thing, like there's not many ground types that want to switch in and take a specs boom burst uh, So yeah, that thing's a
Mm.
major threat, and it's just freaking cool. Like that mon is cool. That's another thing I've really wanted to use, and I've not gotten to use yet. But I just love the design on Toxtricity. That thing is cool.
Oh yeah, like I think personally it's one of my favorite designs of Gen 8. It's
Absolutely.
just such a good looking Pokemon.
Yeah, it's badass, and the friggin' ability is badass too.
Yep. And also it reduces damage from sound based moves, which is kind of overlooked because usually you're dishing out the damage.
Oh,
You
I didn't
aren't
even know that.
really taking the damage.
I honestly that I was today years old when I learned that. I did not know that.
So yeah, sound based moves, it actually takes I believe half damage from them.
Wow. Okay. And what's next?
All right. All right. Well, next is one of my two Terramons, which, by the way, this league, you could Terra into any type, but no Terra Blast.
Okay.
And that would be Delmise, which I drafted Delmise mainly because, rapid spin. Like, it's always good to have multiple removal, especially if one has a really bad matchup. You can have another one, and a lot less likely that you'll have to go into a game without removal.
Uh-huh. And having a rapid
And
spin mon that is also a spin blocker is pretty cool.
yes, like Delmise does it well for roll compression.
And Delmise hits like a freaking truck too. Like having 3 stab moves because of its steelworker ability, with any steel moves being like those basically stab gyro balls or the anchor shot, and
Mm,
if you want to tear it, like Tera Ghost Poltergeist, like that shit just blows shit up.
yep, and you see, when I drafted it, I had a funny idea of running banded 4 stab Delmise because steel, ghost, grass, and then something like water or something like that. That was just always my dream when I drafted it.
Yeah, if you will it, dude, it is no dream.
But yeah, Delmise, amazing Pokemon, love it. And then
Excellent.
next is the MVP of the entire league. I think she went 21-6,
God
and that would
damn,
be my other Terramon, Diancie.
putting in work. That little crystal Pokemon putting in work. 21-6 is a
Mm,
crazy stat line, bro.
yep. And well, usually just Terra Fairy Draining Kiss and solves all of its problems.
Right,
But
dude. Fairy is such a busted offensive typing. If you can get a strong fairy in draft and make it one of your Terramons, like you saw me just go on a tear in our last league with um Terra,
Ribombi,
yeah, Terra Ribombi, man, Terra Fairy Ribombi, like put in so much work, dude. Um, and now I
that
think,
thing did eye popping damage even without a Quiver Dance.
yeah, dude, like if there were so many weeks where I was just building and I was like, I can just put a specs on Ribombi and make it Terra Fairy, and there's no switch-ins. Like,
Oh man, but that's kind of what I did with Diancie too. And Diancie is probably the most overpowered Pokemon with this with the Terra rule sets that they had because it's a Crit Me Not Mon that is not passive under any circumstance.
yeah,
Diamond Storm is a coin flip if you get an Iron Defense boost, and
yeah,
you don't even need to run any special attack investment because it's already base 100. And with a Terra Fairy, it boosts Draining Kiss's power from 50 to 60 on
mm,
top of the double stab bonus. So like it hits, and then it just heals up every single time. It kind of just makes you feel hopeless. Just like, what am I supposed to do here to this
yeah,
Pokemon?
yeah. And Diancie is so bulky. That thing really is slept on. Like it's like kind of quietly gotten like buff after buff in like these past couple generations of getting shit like Earth Power and getting Mystical Fire, and the fact that it can run Trick Room and just be so bulky. Like you can do so many things with that mon, and it's very like reliable rocker and uh,
Yeah.
to run like the calm mind or weakness policy stuff. Like that thing is
Hmm.
nasty.
It gets spikes now in this generation too.
Yeah, again, like another, like as if it needed more buffs. Like it just keeps getting more buffs.
Yeah, it has to be like the most buffed mythical in like anything. And I thought that used to be Zera Aura. Nope.
Yeah. So okay, so uh, Tera Diancie, League MVP, and what are the last couple
Hmm.
mons?
All right. Well, next, it was kind of quiet for me in the regular season, but it was really a playoff hero. Buzzwole.
Buzzwole, baby, Hero Green
Oh my
Junior.
god, like that mon of my semifinals opponent. You remember that one? I literally had to play that game perfectly against Quaquaval and Meowscarada, and
Oh
Buzzwole
yeah.
over here just like, I'll just take every single hit, throw it at me.
Yeah, dude, Buzzwole was so freaking bulky, dude, on the physical side, and fighting Bug is such a good defensive typing, and people never seem to remember how bulky it is. Like, and it kind of like Diancie, like you said, you'd never really need to run special attack investment on Diancie a lot of times. Like Buzzwole's kind of the same way. Like it's so strong that you rarely even need to run attack investment, and you could just load up on the bulk, and it just like it's so hard to kill, especially with shit like
Hmm.
Drain Punch or Substitute. Foreshadowing for our finals discussion here, but I'm actually familiar with Buzzwole too. Like I've used it a couple times. I like to nickname it "Do you even drink blood, bruh?" But it's it's a monster, dude. Can attest, can affirm. Um,
Yeah, oh my god, like this mon is absolutely crazy. I don't get why it isn't drafted more in Draft League.
it's
Like, I
so
will only
slept
see it
on.
undrafted.
I swear it's because I say this all the time, man. But like people so over over focus on four times weaknesses, but it's there's so many Pokemon out there that are so good, especially now that hidden power is not a thing anymore. That like four
Hmm.
times weaknesses really do not matter that much. It's so easy to build around four times weaknesses when you got things like I love the synergy of Jirachi and like I mean really just Jirachi and
Jirachi,
Buzzwole like
Diancie,
and Diancie, yeah,
Buzzwole, like those three together cover so much.
and Toxtricity too. Yeah, it's like Buzzwole
Hmm.
can easily switch in on basically, any kind of ground moves or that want to hit Jirachi and Diancie and like uh I just remember when you sent me like I didn't actually do a lot of mocks with you during this season and you were just like calmly crushing it. I'm glad I didn't because I probably would have like messed you up because you were obviously doing fine on your own, but I remember you sending me the draft and being like, check out this team. And I just remember looking at it and being like, that is a nasty team. Like, I love,
I don't know how I got all of this. This
yeah,
team is crazy.
it's such a good team. And it's so like my kind of team of like the diversity of Jirachi and Manaphy together, of how many different things those things can do, and just be like glue pieces every single week. And then how good like Tera Diancie and Buzzwole and Delmise, like Cinder, like it's just it all they all work
Yeah,
really well together. And Ursaluna, like also this Pokemon that's just impossible to switch into. Like it's just so many things you can do, and the Trick Room dynamics. Like I love when you have a team that's not necessarily like built around like relying on Trick Room, but it could still run Trick Room really well. Like love that.
yeah. And like this team's speed tiers are admittedly really bad, but speed tiers are not the end all be all. Like Cinderace being above 110, perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Being able to check base 100 speeds, perfect.
I
Having some middle and speed ones, perfect. Go on, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think just the same way that like people overvalue four times weaknesses. I think in draft a lot of times people over focus on speed tiers too. And I've always been someone who like speed tiers is honestly like at the bottom of my priority list when I'm drafting. Like I'm much more focused personally on like team synergy, fulfilling roles that are complementary. You know, do I have the right
Hmm.
amount of support mons? Do I have special breakers, physical breakers, a nice defensive core, and momentum? That's what I'm like primarily looking for in a draft. And like, if my speed tiers fit well, like cool. The speed tiers are important, but I think people sometimes pick things that aren't like as good just for the speed tiers when like there might be like better options out there. Like who cares that Manaphy and Jirachi are both base 100s? Like those things work so well together that like it really does not matter at all.
Yeah, those two mons will make you prep for a billion different sets.
Yeah, dude, like there it's so impossible to know what each one of them are going to do week to week. Like that diversity and unpredictability is in my opinion like the most important thing in draft anyway. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I
man.
gotta say, one of my favorite teams you ever helped me with was that Mew, Komodo, Ditto, Mega Banette team. That team was
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, dude, that was like my just toxic ass like brainchild of like I want to be cancerous this season. Like the the Skarm Bliss with Mew. Yeah, that was such a gross, awesome team.
Yeah, how do you prep for all of that?
You
That's the
don't,
neat part.
dude.
You don't.
Yeah, you just don't. Um,
On top of a Komodo that will just set up in a billion different ways.
yeah, Kumo is another one of those like four times weakness mons that gets somehow like doesn't get drafted so many times, but it's so freaking good. I talked about that in my
Especially in leagues that allow Clangorous Soul.
yeah, dude. If it allows Clangorous Soul, like it should be banned. Like there's no way that move should ever be allowed on that thing because it doesn't even need it to be a Brokemon. And when you allow that, it's like there's literally no thing that stops it. I talked about Como quite a bit on my one video where I was breaking down my championship. But let's is that all the Pokemon? Did we mention all of your
There's
roster?
two smaller picks. So this is kind of where we were talking about like you don't pick a mon for its speed tier, uh its speed tier and all. You kind of pick it for what it can do. And the next one was Volibee because
Uh
I
huh.
was running out of points, and it was just like, okay, it would be nice to have another defogger. And this one also covers psychic types if Jirachi can't come. Great, love that, and it also helps out Buzzwole if possible.
Yeah. Yeah, Volibee.
And then,
Volibee is
mhm,
one of those things that like when you look at it in team matchup, like going into the battle, you're never like, oh, I need to prep for Volibee, but like when and it's like not gonna be something that comes every week, but when it does, like that thing is so bulky with a Violet and Flying Dark
yep.
is such a good like defensive typing that it can be a major headache if you did not prep for it at all.
And it's one of the few Mons in Gen 9 that still retains Toxic.
Uh huh. Which is big.
Yep.
And what was the last one?
And finally, I had 1 point left to spare, so it was just like, mm, maybe a Jirachi Diancie can't afford to run a Trick Room. So let's just get a nice 1 point Pokemon that can run Teleport Trick Room with Porygon.
Porygon, baby, another Eviolite legend. Yeah, that thing is again. It's like you're not gonna bring it all the time. It might only come to a few matches, but if you happen to bring it that one week and your opponent did not anticipate it at all, Porygon actually hits kind of hard with analytic, and like it's got a decent special attack stat, and it's got really good like coverage moves. That thing is not to be slept on.
Like without no like investment, it KOs bundle without a doubt with try attack.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So that is the championship roster, and tell me like just briefly like what was your because again like going undefeated is crazy. So like what did you feel like was your favorite thing about this team, and just like
Oh
using it
man, that's
like
a hard one.
would you say this
All
is
of
your
it was my favorite part, admittedly.
yeah would you say like this is your favorite team or like best team that you've ever drafted?
Admittedly, yes. Like best team in terms of like the perfect draft,
Mm-hmm.
no. But like best team, like the most fun team where I felt like I could bring out its max potential, totally. Because again, Manaphy runs a billion different things:
Mm-hmm.
Scarf, Tail Blow, Double Dance.
Mm-hmm.
It can run. I already said Scarf. It can run screens. Jirachi can also run screens. The Trolley Haxrachi set. It can be it can support with Wish, Healing Wish, Future Sight, Trick Room. It can set up Stealth Rocks, all that type of stuff. Ursaluna can just break your soul or run something like Chopple Bulk Up. Even AV, it's like a really good Assault Vest mon.
Yeah, and Ursaluna has got really good abilities.
Yeah, like, funnily enough, if you really wanted, Ursaluna just walls Goldango without a doubt. Like, make it rain will still hurt a little bit, but it can't 2-hit KO you with
Right.
it unless specs, because bulletproof.
Right.
Focus Blast, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's what I like when I look at this team. Like, one, you can't argue with the results, right? Like, and but also just like when I'm looking at it, it's like one of those teams that is just so hard to prep against because you don't. All of your like top threats can do so many different things that it's just like man, such a headache for your opponent to try to prep for week to week because it's
Yeah.
like you have no idea really like what you're gonna be bringing. And I've always felt that way. Like Jirachi is one of the Pokemon that I hate facing the most because it's you never know what the heck it's gonna do, and it's like you spend half the battle just trying to figure out what the heck what set it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, in the match that I just did before this, I ran Rendo on Swampert just in case a Jirachi came with Energy Ball.
Right. And then half the time, like the things you prepped for, like it just doesn't have it at all. It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. It didn't even come to this match, which
Yeah.
disappointed me.
Jirachi is like really good defensively or offensively or just support mons. Like, yeah, the thing's really good. Okay, so let's get into talking about before we end up with like a 2 hour video here, which I'm fine with. I ain't doing shit tonight, but so you we're breaking down your championship match, and I have up here on my screen the Pokepaste for the team that you ended up bringing in the championship. We've got the Delmise with a covert cloak. It had max HP, pretty much, max attack. And I remember that when we were doing mocks and looking at team building, originally that you had a really cool Delmise that was like Iron Defense. Um, it was what
Oh
was
yeah, Iron Defense, Poltergeist, Body Presence, Synth.
yeah, which was a great set and actually did really well in mocks, but you ended up changing it, and I remember thinking about like, oh, gyro ball is a really good option for like a unburdened because we actually were seeing a lot of problems trying to deal with like a unburdened Sneasler. And if you look at the could you just rattle off your opponent's Pokemon real quick, just like top to bottom, like
Oh yeah. So this team started with an Iron Bundle, a Rillaboom, Another one of your amazing mons in your league.
Yes, or the mascot, baby.
Yep. And then there's Thundy T, Sneasler. Hate Sneasler so much. Hate prepping for that thing. Hate everything about it.
Demon.
Cleavor. Tera Diancie, which that thing should not be allowed to Tera. That thing is disgusting.
I just faced a Tera Glacier in my week 4 battle, and it made me poop my pants. It was very scary.
They also had Tera Hatterene, which I also believe is a completely broken mon. Draining Kiss, max bulk with 134 special attack. Oh my god. How do you deal with that?
Right.
Iron Treads, and then Cutie Fly, which I guess is for webs if they ever feel like running it.
Yeah, it's webs and memes, you know. Um, yeah. So when we were building for this, like the obvious issue is that as good as your team is, and as much as I love like the synergy and everything on your team, Unburden, like Swords Dance, Grassy Seed, Sneasler looked so good against your team. Like it just looked
Oh my
so
god, it
freaking good.
hooked me every single time.
It was so good. Yeah, I was just wrecking you with that thing in mocks, and so we really had to like we ended up like buckling down and being like, okay, let's like get some big brain ideas here and try to figure out like what the hell stops a sneezer. And there weren't many like great options, so we were trying to get creative, but like this your Terra Delmise, the one adjustment that we made to that set was putting gyro ball in there because we were realizing, okay, with the steelworker ability and just the natural bulk that Delmise has, as if you preserve it, and it looks like it's a unburdened Sneasler. If you keep that Delmise healthy, you can take a +2 hit from it, being able to Terra your grass typing away, and because it'll be unburdened, speed boosted, like that gyro ball was gonna be doing a crap ton to it.
Yeah, I think it was 90% even at +1.
Right. So the idea was like, okay, just Kyle, just never let Sneasler set up for free. Don't ever let it get a free Swords Dance up. Just make sure whatever it comes in on, you just hit it, get
Yep,
some
stand your
damage on it.
ground.
Yeah, and then your Delmise should be able to come in and just take it out with a gyro ball. So that was the idea with Delmise. Then we had uh Jirachi, and I think you went through a lot of iterations on this Jirachi too. I remember like you changing this set quite a bit. But what you
That's the
landed,
issue. Like, it's impossible to prep for the opponent, but it's also to prep with as
yeah,
the player.
yeah, it's like what the hell do I do with this thing? I remember facing that dilemma over and over again when I had Jirachi on my team seasons ago. But yeah, so you ended up with a almost max HP, very specially bulky Jirachi, with enough speed to outspeed. I don't know what. Um,
Jolly Rillaboom and Cleavor.
right. Okay, and then calm nature. So yeah, very very bulky on the specially defensive side, and you had Wish, Future Sight, which is a move that I love. Trick Room for helping out that Ursaluna, because that was one thing that I was looking at when I was doing Moxie. As good as Sneasler was, like Ursaluna was equally good against your opponent because he literally just had like literally nothing switches into a guts Ursaluna. Like I remember looking at calcs of like even like a friggin' Iron Treads like max defense took so much from like a guts boosted facade. Like they're just I think the only thing that I could come up with as doing mocks as your opponent was like a max defense, full HP, full physically defense, Glacier Terra Ghost was like the only answer that I could come up with for Ursaluna.
Yeah, but even then, Ursaluna outspeeds, so now you're playing the 50-50 if it headlong rushes again or facades.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not even a good answer, but it was like this is all I have. um, but yeah, so Jirachi and this Jirachi ended up working pretty good, right? Like it future sight like
Mhm.
that. The thing about future sight is like it's such a hard move to play around because of like the 2 turn delay on the hit actually like activating. It's like opponents always forget about it, or
Mhm.
like if they don't, like it's just you can apply so much pressure with like switches and U-turns and like forcing them to go into something that doesn't want to, that's not like a steel or dark type, and like it's just such a good way. I remember thinking like I think I suggested it to you, and I was like, you know, this could be a really good way to like get some free damage on Rillaboom, or just have that. The also the really good thing about it was it's like kind of like a proactive deterrent for Sneasler too, because if the future sight is like in the air and looming, like he can't bring in the Sneasler because it gets wrecked by a future sight, right?
Yeah, they get one shot and no set is going to survive
Yeah,
Jirachi Future Sight.
right. Like even uninvested because it's 4 times weak. So that was like another way to kind of like um creatively check that thing. Then we got
Mm-hmm.
then we got oh, the big boy, Hero Green Jr. Buzzwole. So this, you originally had Scarf on this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the scarf with enough EVs to outspeed Bundle.
Mm-hmm. Which was a pretty good idea, you know, like because Bundle was another one of those things that like when I was doing mocks with you, I was like, man, Bundle looks really good against you, and it did, like with the combination of freeze dry and hydro pump, especially if it was like choice specs, like it's very hard to switch into that thing, and it outspeds your whole team. So like that thing was scary as crap too. This was a tough build,
Mm-hmm.
man. This was a really tough, like we hit the lab hard on this, people. Like we but I remember looking at, because of like what, so when I used to have Buzzwole, every time I brought substitute sets, it put in so much work, because anytime you come in on a physical attacker, like, and he had things like Iron Treads on his team, he had things like which seemed like it had to come because of Jirachi, is like his best answer for Jirachi. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like things like Iron Treads, Glacier, like anytime Buzzwole and Rillaboom too, the like Buzzwole comes in so freely on those things, and they can't do like jack to it. So they have to switch out, and it's like so easy to get a substitute up with Buzzwole. And then this thing is so strong that like it can just really put so much pressure on teams when it's behind a sub with Drain Punch. And so I remember I was like, Kyle, what about like a sub Drain Punch? And then I'm going through its moves, and I'm like, Rock Tomb, baby. Best move in the game, Rock Tomb.
Oh my god, that move is busted.
And
95% of the time, of course.
yes, but I remember looking at that and I was like, dude, rocked. If you're behind a sub and he won, because the only things that could really, his only special attackers that could kind of try to deal with Buzzwole were like Thunderous and Bundle, basically.
Yeah.
And Rock Tomb just kind of wrecks both of those things. And the great thing about Rock Tomb is it reduces their speed. So, like, after one, you were going to outspeed the, I think you, so you had 152 HP, 248 defense to just eat physical hits all day. And then with 108 speed, you could outspeed Thunderous after one Rock Tomb. And, like,
Yeah,
this thing, we'll see in the replay, but like it did what we hoped it would.
yeah,
Um,
that's why I said it was the MVP of the playoffs.
yep, yep. And then you had the choice scarf. Cinderace, and again, this was another tweak after Mox, but because originally this was banded, and you had like the banded quick attack was one of your ways of trying to deal with Sneasler, which I thought was a great idea. Um, I honestly was like, I when you switched it to Choice Scarf, I was like, yeah, I don't know, like I kind of liked the band quick attack, but once again, we'll see in the replay. But the Choice Scarf ended up being a
Quick
very,
impact.
very good idea. And then we have the Ursaluna, which we already talked about. You just literally had no switch ins for this thing. Guts, Ursaluna max attack, very bulky. And with the Trick Room on Jirachi, that thing just became even more of a menace. And yeah, Ursaluna was just great here. It was really good.
Yep, and this thing is the single reason why I thought Hatterene could not come to this game, because this thing just tears through any setup Hatterene.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so and then you had Manaphy, and Manaphy was like, I think you were also like very back and forth about what your sixth mon was gonna be. Um,
Yeah, it was between Diancie, Manaphy, even Toxtricity.
mm-hmm. And you ended up bringing the full HP, a lot of bulk, a lot of like physical bulk, 124 defense, 136 speed, timid nature, with dual screens, light clay, U-turn, and scald. And really, I remember really pushing for this Manaphy to come with screens because, again, like this was one of those matchups where like both of you guys just had certain Pokemon that were so good against each other, and his Iron Bundle was so good against you, and you really didn't have much to deal with it if you did not bring Manaphy. So it like even though Manaphy was not like great against Bundle because it has freeze dry, the thing that I liked about it was that at least it forced him to like play guessing games and not just be able to click, because you the last thing you want is for him to just not have to think at all and just freely click like Hydro Pump against you. And
Yep,
so
Ice Beam.
yeah, right. And so Manaphy really was really just good just for that, and the fact that it was bulky enough and outsped a lot of things on his team, that you had a lot of, and just that like again the unpredictability of Manaphy, like people always have to be worried about tail glow sets or calm mind sets and stuff, so there was a lot of things that were going to be forced to switch out against Manaphy. So I thought going into this that you had a really good chance to get those 8 turn screens up with the light clay and getting like light screen, either a light screen or a reflect off, but like especially the light screen. Um, I mean, really both screens helped a lot here, I thought, and um, were totally worth bringing. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the replay here, and we're gonna
All right.
play through it. Very, I have it on slow speed. I'm gonna go ahead and click play now.
All right.
And so turn one, he actually led the Sneasler turn one, and I was like, oh my god, this thing that we spent hours and hours
Oh god, headache.
being like, how do we deal with unburdened Sneasler? And first off, right off the get, like I was also like, what? He didn't bring Rillaboom? Like the Sneasler is not unburdened Grassy Seed? Like what? Okay, so I was like, initially I was like, well, that's very good, right? And then, but then I was like, well, what kind of Sneasler is it? And then he leads it, and I'm like, is this thing Scarf? Is this thing like Scarf Poison Touch Sneasler? And you got your,
Yeah, but this was a dangerous situation for both of us
it
because both of us did not have a switch into each other.
it really was. It was like such a like tense turn one of the match, and I was like, oh my god, like is it should he stay in if it's Scarf Sneasler? Like, and he takes out Ace. Like, that's not good. Oh my god, what's gonna happen? And I'm just sitting there like kind of freaking out watching. And turn one, you stay in like a friggin' hero guts. Hero guts got the guts to stay in. Just raw pyro ball that thing, and the biggest threat, possibly the biggest threat, gone. Turn one, dude. And I just remember in the chat, in like the DMs when we were chatting on like mid battle, I remember you just being like, "Let's fucking go."
Oh my god, I popped off harder about picking Sneasler turn one than about winning the game. It was crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
Because honestly, that was huge. That was so huge. Like, you could not have asked for a better way to start this championship match. That was huge. So I was freaking
Yeah, and
out too.
I did find out after the match, this was Fling Big Nugget Sneasler.
Oh wow. So he was unburdened, but with the fling. That's crazy.
Yeah, he was going to try to take out that Dalmise.
Uh-huh. So what, I wonder, what did he click first turn? Did he just click fling right off the get?
That's what I'm wondering, because when I talked with him, he did kind of allude to that set. So I wonder if, yeah, that's what he clicked. I'm not quite sure, but he did show me a calc, and Pyroball here had a 31.3% chance to Oko. So I
Ooh.
basically got the Scald Burn.
Ooh. Dude, that's so
But we
huge.
know Scald Burn is basically 100%, so.
And we know that nicknames matter. You know, you
Exactly. Why do you
nickname
think I
it.
got 30%?
You nickname your Cinderace Hero Guts if you want to make fucking gutsy final championship plays, and that's what happens. But dude,
Mm-hmm.
imagine if you had been like, oh, I'm gonna play it safe and I'm gonna switch into like Delmise, and he friggin' clicks Fling turn one and just rocks that thing. Like, it would have
And he's
been,
able to take
you
the
would have been in
lose.
such bad shape. So
Yeah,
that
because that thing probably has acrobatics as well, so it's not like Buzzwole can do anything.
right. So that was, yeah, turn one, huge, huge play turn one. So then he brings out Glastrier, and we talked about how much of a freaking beast this thing is with Tera. So what are you thinking on turn two?
Man. So what I'm thinking, because I think I was telling you, I feared the Iron Defense body press set because my opponent here loved that set so much. So, like, even despite in prep, it looked not very good because, Tailed Low Manaphy took advantage of it.
Uh-huh.
Toxicity just outright blew it up and all. Something still in my head told me I have to respect this. I can't just assume that it's not gonna be it because it has a bad matchup. Because if he assumed I didn't bring said Pokemon, it would have a great matchup then.
Right. And this is why something like Buzzwole is such a valuable thing to have on your squad, because even a thing that has insane attack stat like Glastrier, it just like tickles Buzzwole. Like, it can't do anything to that thing. And so you freely bring in Buzzwole here. He actually Terra Waters, which was an interesting choice, and he goes for the Iron Defense like you expected. Now, I love the play that you made turn three, going for the substitute against it. Um, because as
Yeah,
we,
there was
I'm sorry,
there was like literally no risk in pressing sub there in this situation because body press cannot break the sub even at plus. It can't break the sub at +4. It has
right,
to be at +6 to break the sub.
right, and we knew Icicle Crash wasn't gonna break your sub, and that's just crazy. That's how crazy bulky Buzzwole is. Is that, dude, a stab Icicle Crash from a thing that has like, what is Glacier, like 135 attack or something?
I think it is 130.
It's like, that's so
It's
strong,
crazy.
and it can't even break a sub, and like, you're not even like max HP, max defense. Like, that Buzzwole is so freaking strong. It's such a tank. So, and I was like screaming for you to set up the sub there. So you set up the sub, and here we go, baby. This is where the game plan comes into action. He switches out
Mm,
turn 4 as you go for toxic, and you toxic the Cleavor. So you probably I was anticipating I was anticipating the Thunderous really to come out, but toxic was definitely a good play because if you toxic that Glastrier, knowing that it's Iron Defense now, um, toxic was just free there. Getting a toxic on Glastrier would have been great. Um,
mm,
but either way, it was a great play. So we ended up toxicking this Cleavor, and then I think it goes for it goes for a dual wing beat, which actually is able to break the sub and does a pretty good chunk with 31% on the second hit because of that 4 times weakness. But
mm.
here is where Rock Tomb becomes so crucial. Boom, crushing it with a super effective Rock Tomb, 43%, and now he's in trouble because now your Buzzwole is outspeeding the Cleavor. And so another Rock Tomb is just super free. And I think
And
he's
I assumed the Cleavor and the Thundy was not scarfed because Thunderous, it did not want to be scarfed here, press Volt Switch, and then let Ursaluna in for free. Because
yeah,
if it did that, I get a free Mon every single time it comes in.
exactly. And so
And Cleavor, Jirachi, same thing, because you don't want that thing to get in and start iron heading, all that terrible stuff.
yeah, so really like another Rock Tomb was just super free there because either and the other thing was like even if Iron Treads wants to come in, like that was probably gonna need to be a bulky Iron Treads because of your Jirachi. And so like you were probably gonna outspeed that thing too after a Rock Tomb, and then Drain Punch is like super free. Or also like what does Iron Treads doesn't do shit to Buzzwole anyway, so you could probably just sub up against that thing too. So it's like this is
Yeah.
why Buzzwole, like you just quickly see here why this Buzzwole set was just so good versus him. And this is where the wheels really start falling off the bus for him because as you see here, the next play, you just freely go for Rock Tomb, and all of a sudden, the Thunderous is in the exact same spot. It just took like half damage, and it's gonna die to another Rock Tomb, and you outspeed now. So that was great building to put enough EVs to be able to outspeed the Thunderous at -1. And now Buzzwole has killed Thunderous, totally like crippled the Cleavor, and you're almost at like full health, and you forced him to bring in the bundle here. So,
Mm-hmm.
tell me about like why Jirachi here? What were you thinking? Jirachi, because it was like either you go Jirachi or Manaphy there. So tell me about your choice.
So I've been playing very aggressive at this point with the because turn one I literally stayed in and risked it all on Pyro Ball hitting and that being a Scarf Sneasler, and then I also played very aggressive probably to my opponent because he was just like, why is he clicking Rock Tomb? Because that could have been a Scarf Cleavor or a Scarf Thundy, but so at this point, just like, okay, you kind of need to cool the jets, because if you keep on playing over aggressive, like if I go into Manaphy right now and it freeze dries, well, I've given him back momentum because now my Manaphy's in a bad situation. So I decided, let's just play it safe,
Yeah.
because Jirachi can take one of anything,
Mm-hmm.
two of anything if it's not specs.
Mm-hmm. I think that was a great call, and also because um, the Manaphy had a really good chance to get up screens against either Treads, Cleavor, or Glastrier. And I have no idea how to say Glastrier, by the way. Like Glastrier, Glastrier, I have no
Kind of
idea.
weird name. Like Spectrier makes sense. It sounds
Right.
right, but Glastrier, like it's just so weird.
Yeah. But I think you made a great call with bringing Hero King the Jirachi in here. And also because, like, Jirachi was really mostly there to have something to switch in on Thunderous, and the fact that that thing was already gone, it's like Jirachi is a lot more expendable, I think, at this point. So
Hmm.
we bring in that, and it was the correct call because he goes for Ice Beam. And so, like, this could not have started any better. I remember being so hype at this point because I'm like, this is literally going as good as possible so far. And I
Yeah,
was,
this is like the dream scenario. This game could feasibly end in a 6-0. That's how amazing this feels so far.
yeah, dude. I remember just like hollering in chat and just be like, let's go, baby. This is going so good. Um, Especially with that Buzzwole set popping off because I was like, yes, the Rock Tomb, baby, the Rock Tomb is doing it. Um,
Hey, what can I say? You're the co-owner of this one because that set single-handedly won this game.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, that was a divinely inspired set. It came to me, and I'm glad it worked for you, man. I'm glad. This is why mock battling and like having a good um partner to team build with really helps. So we bring in Jirachi here, and I don't remember what happened next. So let's see. He brings
I
in,
think he switches out into treads.
yeah, he goes into Iron Treads, and I remember I had brought Iron Treads as like my Jirachi answer versus you in prep, so it was no surprise. I was running Rocky Helmet Iron Treads. I don't know what item he had, but you go for a U-turn, which totally makes sense. And this is why that Jirachi U-turn plus like Ursaluna combo is so good because like your Ursaluna coming in here, and you easily could have gone back into Buzzwole too and been in like just as good of a spot too. Like this was going so well that like it was basically like, how do I want to win here? um,
Yeah, and like at this point, just like, hey, might as well proc the guts boost
right.
because what is this tread gonna do? If it body presses, it dies. Like, and what does he switch into? Because there is not a single mon on this team that can take 2 hits from Ursaluna.
Yeah, Headlong Rush is just so free here. So Ursaluna definitely makes perfect sense. This was a great play. And once again, it's like, can this go any better? I don't think so. He brings in Glastrier, whatever the hell, the Ice Horse. It takes a
Yes.
massive chunk, and we see not a switch in. So then he's
Yeah, I
forced.
might as well just press it again. What
Yeah,
is he gonna do?
like exactly. Like he's not gonna do anything, and so he just chooses to sack Cleavor, and then like he's just. I feel like it was really when that Buzzwole set up a sub and started clicking Rock Tomb that like he was just probably just panicking. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's forced to go back into bundle on your Ursaluna to try to revenge it, and you make another nice call going back into Jirachi. Again, I
Yeah,
think
because
it.
again, even if Jirachi goes down, it's expendable at this point.
Yeah, it's expensive because you don't really need it for anything else, so like it just makes sense. Um, and he stays in. He goes for Hydro Pump while you Future Sight here. And
Yep.
I think Future Sight again was just a good call because it's like it's just gonna end up hitting something pretty hard in a few turns.
Mm.
And that was
Unfortunately, he high rolled the hydro pump.
right, and he's hitting them. He's hitting them up to this point.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're able to go into your Scarf Cinderace. So as good as this is going, I'm still like, okay, let's play it safe. Let's make sure we're not like um making any major misplays because even as well as like even as we're looking at this, as well as this is going, like Iron Bold Bundle is still scary.
Yeah.
Um,
And last year, like that thing is not a problem until it's, or that thing is a problem until it's gone. Like that's why I started playing very, very safe and slowing down the game to what I like.
mm-hmm,
Because if that thing starts getting up iron defenses, I can't do anything to it, and it's just gonna reverse sweep me.
right. So I think you're still making the right plays. You bring in the Libero Cinder Ace and go for U-turn while he brings in Treads, and then you're just back in this same spin cycle. The Treads ends up eating the Future Sight, which was good for him, but again, he's in the same spot where like it's just like something dies now to Ursaluna.
Yeah, there was nothing he could have done in that situation because Sight into U-turn took out Bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Sight, I think Sight into U-turn took out Glastrier. If not, Ursaluna just came in and then caused havoc again. So his only reasonable play was to go into Treads, which Ursaluna comes in, and we're in this situation again
Yep.
where I just press Headlong Rush for free.
And there's no way, like if he was gonna, he has to either sack Iron Treads or Glass or the Ice Horse, because his only potential win con is the Iron Bundle at this point. So he lets the Treads go down. He just gets a little bit of chip on Ursaluna, and I was actually in my head I was hoping that you would just let Ursaluna go down there. I in hindsight, you could tell me a little bit about your thought process, but I was like, oh, if you just let Ursaluna go down there, sack this to Iron Bundle now. If I was playing it, I probably would have done that and then let Manaphy come in for free and just get up a light screen. And I think at that point you just won if you had a light screen up.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we've talked about this a little bit, but I think I was overly paranoid about the last year, where it felt like I needed Ursaluna to break that thing. Without it, it was going to just outright reverse sweep me. If not, I was going to have to get into a basically a Buzzwole and Delmai's mind game of stalling it out of PowerPoints. So it was just
mm-hmm.
like, in my mind, it was just like, okay, what we do is we go into Cinderace, keep on pressing U-turn, and if he switches on to Glastrier, perfect. I just go into Ursaluna and take him out. But I have a lot of pieces I can sacrifice at this point.
Yeah.
So just keep on U-turning, and eventually I'll get into the Ursaluna versus Glastrier matchup, and I win no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that is like I think that was just another like another way of going about it that I don't think that there was any way of you like losing in that scenario either. It was just
Yeah.
starting to make me nervous because I was like, I just saw a different route and I was like, oh no, don't. Why did you bring in Manaphy? You could have got the screen that because I think I see what you're saying about the Glacier, but I don't know that really could have reverse swept you because you still had Buzzwole so healthy. I don't think it really could have done anything to Buzzwole because you had like
Yeah.
Toxic and you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if it didn't get any attack boost, like you just sit behind a sub and punch it in the face over and over.
And especially with Delmai's too, and this thing was covert cloak, so it's not like I could have been flinched. So
Mm-hmm.
in between both of them, I probably could have just outstalled it.
Yeah, I agree, but we go this route. We go the more I'm gonna stress out my friends route, and you go into Manaphy. It takes 2 freeze dries, and now you're like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing this U-turn scarf Cinderace spin cycle thing. Then you
Mm-hmm.
sack you sack off the Hero Green Junior. Even after you put in all that work, you just let him die. Cinderace comes
Hey,
back
he
in.
knew that he was the MVP.
He did.
Not all heroes wear capes.
He did. He died valiantly. So then you bring in Cinderace again. He goes for Hydro Pump. I think he's maybe he was thinking, oh, he's gonna try to stay in, and then he misses the second Hydro Pump on Delmise, and then it's really just over as you rapid spin.
Yeah, which that was actually a little bit scary in that situation for me because if since he missed that and I took out Bundle, now it was Delmise versus Glastrier, which was okay, but if
Yeah,
I miss a Poltergeist,
true.
it was going to spiral out of control.
I forgot that Poltergeist could miss. But yeah, I
Yeah,
was thinking at that point I was like, oh, this is definitely over because he can just Tera. Because again, like Tera Ghost max attack, Poltergeist is so strong. I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely about to kill this horse.
yeah.
But
Fun fact: Poltergeist from Delmise is the strongest. It's the strongest user of Poltergeist.
wow, yeah,
Yeah, Of
It's
course, there's like Mega Banette and all, but that's Nat Dex, and
right.
we're not talking about Nat Dex. We're talking about Paldea.
Yeah, I mean that did a lot of damage to that horse, but because the that ice horse is very very bulky, but yeah, that is the championship. So once again, man, congratulations, GGs to our boy
Thank
Kyle.
you, and thank you for all the help. Like, man, I felt kind of lost at first during the first mock, but then afterwards, it was just like we kind of had a really good idea about how we wanted to kind of make this entire team work.
I think we did, man. We came up, and I'm happy to help, dude. I'm really happy that some of my ideas really contributed to the win. But you had, a bunch of your ideas. Like I would not have thought of Scarf Cinderace, and that ended up being so crucial. Not just for turn one, which was huge, but also for that end game the way you played it, and the just the Jirachi set that you landed on and everything. But you've given me so many good ideas and all the mocks that we do week to week, man. Like my undefeated record right now in RGPL and just a lot of seasons where I've done well. You've helped me a lot in a lot of different seasons, so had to bring you on the channel, man. Shout you out, give you props, and just have some fun talking about this championship because I had a lot of fun watching you win it, man. And it's just awesome, like going undefeated in a season is like it's so hard to do, like you said, with all the luck involved in Pokemon. Like that, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody go fully undefeated. So um,
Yeah, yeah, especially after like because after a while, especially once you hit playoffs, now you have the pressure. It's just like, oh, I have to keep on winning. Like if I lose, then this season is all for naught.
yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. Like because I remember, I think it was my first draft league season ever. I went undefeated in the regular season and then lost in the championship, and I was so bummed, man. Um, but congratulations, man. I think, like you said, MVP of this championship match, definitely the Buzzwole and the Scarf Cinderace, really. Buzzwole, Scarf Cinderace, and it just was a perfectly executed game plan. It was a really as as anxiety provoking as it was a really interesting matchup because there were such good threats on both sides that were really hard to counter, like both of you trying to like throw haymakers at each other and be like, well, I got this thing that you don't have any answers for, and you're like, all right, well, I got this thing that you don't have any answers for. And it's like it just made for such an interesting chess match. And that's what I love about Draft League, man. It's like such a 5D chess match where there's so many different team building options. There's so many different. It's like almost like in team building is like the match before the match. You know what I mean? Like trying to guess what your
Mhm.
opponent's gonna bring, trying to guess what kind of sets they're gonna want to bring to counter against you, trying to like figure out, okay, well they're gonna guess that I'm gonna bring this, so I'm gonna bring this for what they're guessing that I'm gonna bring, and then it's like, and then you do all that, and then you actually have to play the match, and then it's like it could go anywhere from there. You have to actually make the right plays and execute and everything. So well done, man. Claps, claps, claps. And this was a long video, dude, but I had fun. Uh,
I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. And make sure anybody who sat through this entire conversation, if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys are enjoying this draft league content, please do like and subscribe. It really does. I have another YouTube channel that I run with my wife and I. It's called Twin Soul Poets, where I've actually monetized that and I run a whole business through. But those likes and subscribes, it's not just like an empty shout out at the end. It really does help a channel to grow on the YouTube algorithm. Just clicking that one little button. So if you enjoy draft league content, I'm really trying to make videos that are educational because one of the ways that I got better at this crazy little hobby was watching other people on YouTube who, explain their thought process really well. And so that's what I'm trying to put out there with this channel. So I hope you guys are enjoying. thanks again to my boy Kyle here. Maybe we can do some more guest appearances later on as I do more stuff. But yeah, man, awesome team, dude. Excellent drafting, excellent play throughout the season, and it always feels good to win that chip, baby.
Oh my god, yeah, because this was my first one ever in a competitive league. I've had few, I've had a few in like one and done leagues, metronome, which really doesn't matter, and all, but like this was like the first like mainstay league where I won it all because usually I make it the playoffs and then just outright obliterated round one.
Yeah, yeah, that always sucks too, man. I've had that happen many times, and it's not a good feeling. You just like I always like sit there and like fret about it for days afterwards. Anytime I like lose in playoffs, I hate it so much. But yeah, man, this draft leagues are just so much fun. I've been doing it for years now, and maybe we'll do more. I have a couple. I did my one like championship, talking about one of my championships in the past, and I think it's fun like doing these kind of videos too. In addition to like the RGBL series that we're doing right now. Hopefully I'll get the championship in the RGBO. I don't know. I gotta get past you, but we're 4-0 right now, the Richmond Rillaboom. But yeah, I think it's fun like featuring championship teams because it's like okay, this is a team that worked really well. Why did it work really well? Like let's break that down. Um, and yeah, man, you had a great one here. So cool, cool.
Yeah,
Well,
and
let
like something to note about like championship teams is you can draft the best team ever, but if you don't have the skills, it will not go anywhere. But you
exactly.
can also have the skill, but if you don't have a very good team, again, you won't go anywhere. So you need to find like a fine balance between a team that is legitimately good and you being able to like just mesh with that team.
Exactly. And like good is like there's a lot of like objective things that make a draft league team good and complete and well rounded and whatnot, but it's also can be very subjective because there's a lot of different styles of play, and each coach like has a different style maybe that they feel most comfortable with. So you can have a great team, but if it doesn't match your style of play and you don't like feel comfortable piloting it, then you're not going to get very far, like you said. So um, I really like the diversity in teams. I like teams that are diverse and have a lot of momentum and synergize well. And this was my kind of team for sure. Like I would have loved building with that team. But before this becomes like a 3 hour video, we're probably
Oh my
gonna.
god, we're almost there.
No, I think it's more like I think we're definitely over an hour. But hey, man, like I said, I had a good time doing this. We could definitely do more in the future. Hopefully, our audience enjoys as well. But like you said, I think you said something the other day. You were like, your videos feel like a podcast. I just listened to it. So yeah, I mean everybody's
Yeah,
doing
it was good to
podcasts
listen to
nowadays.
at work.
Yeah, exactly. So glad you're enjoying it. At least we're I've got one person enjoying my videos. At least I know that. That's great. But yeah, this should be a fun one to watch, and I'll probably be uploading it later this week. I got my week 4 team builder and live battle coming out soon in the next couple days. And thanks for coming on the channel, man. Have a good night, and
Again, thank you for having me.
yeah, man. And we will go ahead and sign out there, Richmond Rillaboom fans. Peace.